In the US and other parts of the world, it's called zip merging, but in the UK, we call it merging in turn. It's rule 134 in the Highway Code of Great Britain, and it's the same rule in the Highway Code for Northern Ireland. But what does it mean, and what should you do? It means you turn as the lanes merge. You can see the cars merging together at the same time that the lanes merge together. It's not appropriate at speed, more on that one later, but it's what you should do in slow moving traffic. Many people believe this is queue jumping and therefore try to merge early. But there's a problem with merging early. You end up with one long queue instead of two shorter queues. The benefit of having two queues of cars at a junction like traffic lights is that when the lights are green, you can get more cars through the green light than you could if you only had one queue of cars trying to get through the green light. Roads aren't cheap and they take up a lot of space. So when the extra money has been spent on adding another lane to improve traffic flow, it's a waste not to use it. The problem with one queue is that it has more chance of going back further. Therefore, junctions behind are more likely to get clogged up like this one. I know the cars should not be blocking the junction, but it does happen, and it happens a lot. Another problem with only using one lane when there are two is that if somebody wants to use both lanes as recommended in the Highway Code, it looks like they're jumping the queue, which makes people angry. But they're not. They are two separate lanes and two separate queues. They're just choosing the shortest one. Would you choose the longest queue in a supermarket? I don't think so, and I don't think the longest queue would be that much longer anyway, because in supermarkets generally people just choose the shortest queue available, and therefore all the queues end up being more or less the same length. If this one longer queue becomes two shorter queues, not only does it get cars past the junction, but it means anyone arriving later can't take advantage of an empty lane and has to queue up behind everyone else. Some drivers try to police their own version of the Highway Code and straddle both lanes, forcing the road into one queue. This is not what the Highway Code recommends. However, merging in turn isn't safe at speed. It's only really meant for queues of traffic. So at the moment I'm on a 70 mile per hour road, and if one of these lanes were to be closed, I would leave that lane or make sure I'm not in that lane as soon as I can. Got a 50 coming up now, and it actually says this lane is closed in 800 yards. So I'm going to try and leave this lane as soon as possible. I can see a safe opportunity, so I'll do it now before it's too late. I won't leave it to the last moment. And as you can see here, just about everybody else has done the same thing. 200 yards ahead, the lane closes, and nobody is in that lane from this moment onwards. It's really busy here today. There's some traffic lights up ahead, and there are two lanes at the traffic lights to try and help traffic flow. Both the lanes go in the same direction. It will be interesting to see if everyone's using both lanes or if they're just using this left lane. We'll find out when we get there. Just before the lane splits, there is actually a yellow box junction, so I must make sure I keep that clear. And actually, it does look like most people are using the left lane. So I'm going to use the right lane as it's shorter. And also it will help traffic flow. It will help get more cars past this light when it goes green. So it may look like I'm queue jumping at the moment, but I'm not. There's one queue on the left and one queue on the right, the queue I'm in. I'm making sure I leave the junctions clear. I think I can go forwards now because that's not actually going to block anyone if I go up to here. And then when these lanes merge, it will become one again. You could say, well, if you're having to merge again, then doesn't that defeat the object? But it doesn't, because you're still shortening the entire length of the queue by having one section that's two lanes. And also, whilst the lights are green, you get more traffic past, and then they can merge afterwards. It just so happens that here it's particularly bad, and even after the lights, the traffic continues for quite some time. And now the lanes are merging, just making sure the car is giving weight. Yes, they are, no problem at all. And I will put my hand up just to say thank you. Well, I hope you found this video interesting and helpful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're looking for car insurance, check out the links to Collingwood and Confused in the description. If you're learning to drive and want to insure yourself on somebody else's car, then Collingwood are there for you, because you can do so without affecting the owner's policy, which takes away a big stress from the owner of the car you're using to learn to drive in. Via the links, there's up to 35% off at the moment and a £20 Amazon gift card. If you want to insure your own car, check out the link to confused.com, because you fill out one quote form and get loads of quotes back from many insurers to compare who's cheapest. And you can change your car on that quote as many times as you like without having to redo the whole quote. So it's a handy tool when you're trying to compare how much it costs to insure different cars. Using the links doesn't cost you anything, but it does support the channel. So thank you very much. Subscribe to get my future videos. And until the next one, cheerio.